जी कैद मान कुर भर के रंग आकाश में पहाड़ खांब पंध परे सितारन जी पनाह में तू हल जी मेठड़ी छाव जी कविताउन में नंढड़ी नदी तू ऐं मां ऐं पखी रहन जंहिं देस में तू हल जी कैद मान कुर भर के रंग आकाश में पहाड़ खां पे पंध परे सितारन जी पनाह में
ज़िंदगी असांजे अॻियां मुख़्तलिफ़ आज़माइशूं रखंदी आहे। कॾहिं ज़िलज़िलो, कॾहिं ॿोॾि, कॾहिं कोरोना, कॾहिं को हादसो। आज़माइशूं ज़िंदगी जो हिस्सो आहिनि। असांखे हिननि जो मुक़ाबिलो करणु अचणु घुरिजे। ही इम्तिहान असांखे मज़बूत बणाईंदा आहिनि।
मुनीबा मज़ारी तहांजे साम्हूं हिकु जीअंदो मिसाल आहे। मुंहिंजी ज़िंदगी में आम माण्हू वांगुरु हुई, पर हिकु ॾींहुं हिकु हादसो थियो ऐं हू पंहिंजे हलण फिरण जी सहायता खोए वेठी। पर हुन कॾहिं बि हार कोन मञी। पेंटिंग ऐं मुसवरी करे हुन पंहिंजे जज़्बात जो इज़हार कयो, बल्कि हू त माण्हुनि खे जोश ऐं जज़्बे जूं तक़रीरूं बि ॾींदी आहे। यूनाइटेड नेशंस जे औरत वारे इदारे में सफ़ीर आहे। ही कहाणी असांखे घणो कुझु थी सेखारे। अचो त ॾिसूं था अॼु असांजा ॿार छा सिखी रहिया आहिनि।
जी मेठड़ी छाव जी कविताउन में नंढड़ी नदी तू ऐं मां ऐं पखी रहन जंहिं देस में
सलाम प्यारा बारो।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम मैडम।
तव्हांजे हर एपिसोड में वक़्त ते अचण वारी पाबंदी हिन ॻाल्हि जो सबूत आहे कि तव्हां इलाही पुरजोश ऐं महिनती नौजवान आहियो ऐं पंहिंजो हर कमु वक़्त सां करण वारा आदी आहियो। मूंखे यकीन आहे त असांखे टीवी ते ॾिसंदड़ ऑडियंस बि तव्हां वांगुरु पुरजोश हूंदी।
मूं तमामु महिनत कई आहे हिन असाइनमेंट ते। मूंखे पूरो हफ़्तो गुज़री वियो आहे इन असाइनमेंट खे लिखण ऐं इन जे डायलॉग खे सुधारण में।
हीउ हफ़्तो मुंहिंजो एक्टिविटी यानी लिखण में गुज़रियो ऐं हीरो जी एक्टिविटी करण महिल मुंहिंजो अंदर जो हीरो जॻण में मदद थो करे।
बिल्कुलु सही। मूं कॾहिं इहो कोन सोचियो हो त समाज जे बदिलाव जे लाइ मूंखे हिन मुहिम में बि हिसो वठिणो पवंदो। मूं त सिर्फ़ु हिकु सोशल पोस्टर ते कमु कयो हो ऐं हिकिड़ी पूरी कहानी लिखी हुई। हीउ कमु वाक़ई में मुंहिंजे लाइ हिकु वॾो एज़ाज़ आहे।
बीहो बीहो ॿारो साहु खणो। इहो छा आहे कि तव्हां रुगो कहानी लिखण ऐं डायलॉग्स जे बारे में ॻाल्हाए रहिया आहियो? अव्हांखे ख़बर आहे न त असांखे टीवी ते ॾिसण वारनि नाज़रीन लाइ बि हिकिड़ो अञा बि दिलचस्प कमु आहे। हीउ कमु समाज में वॾी तब्दीली आणींदो। तव्हां सभु हिन एक्टिविटी में हिकिड़ो कॉमिक बुक यानी मज़ाया किताबु ठाहींदव।
तव्हांजो मतिलबु इहो किताबु जंहिंमें ख़ाका हूंदा आहिनि?
जी।
अच्छा, इन करे अव्हां असांखे ॿिनि कहानियुनि ऐं डायलॉग्स जे बारे में ॿुधायो ताकि असां हुननि खे पंहिंजे कार्टून लाइ इस्तेमालु करे सघूं।
मूंखे ख़ुशी आहे कि आउं तव्हांजे लाइ मददगार थियसि। जीअं त अव्हांखे ख़बर आहे कि असांखे ख़ाका खपंदा पंहिंजे कॉमिक बुक लाइ, त आउं तव्हांखे हाणे कुझु बुनियादी नुक़्ता ॿुधाईंदसि ड्रॉइंग ऐं इलस्ट्रेशन जे बारे में। जंहिं ॿार खे लॻे थो कि हुनजी ड्रॉइंग सुठी न आहे, हीउ सबक़ु तव्हांजे लाइ आहे। कॉमिक बुक में ड्रॉइंग जो बहितरीन ऐं मुकमल हुअणु ज़रूरी न आहे। बसि उन्हनि लाइ इहो ज़रूरी आहे त हू किरदारु पंहिंजो पैगाम माण्हुनि ताईं पहुचाए सघनि ऐं इहो डायलॉग बॉक्स जे ज़रिए थींदो। असांजे आस पास हर शइ नंढड़नि दॿनि जी सूरत में ठही सघे थी। हीउ हेठि 5 बुनियादी नक्शा ठहियल आहिनि जेके हर ॾुखी ड्रॉइंग खे मिंटनि में आसान बनाए छॾंदी आहे। ॿ या ॿ खां वधीक शेप मिलाए हिकु नओं शेप ठही सघे थो। जॾहिं इहो थी वञे त हिननि बुनियादी शेप्स जे मथां पूरी ड्रॉइंग ठही सघे थी। हर इंसानी ख़ाको इन तरीक़े सां ठही सघे थो। शुरू में अव्हांखे महिनत ऐं मुशक़त लॻंदी, पर पोइ आहिस्ता आहिस्ता अव्हांजो हथु हिरी वेंदो ऐं हीउ कमु तव्हांजे लाइ आसान थी वेंदो। शुरूआति कुझु ईअं कयो त ख़्याल में आसान ड्रॉइंग आणियो जेका हिकु या ॿिनि शेप्स सां ठही वञे। जॾहिं महारत हासिलु थियणु लॻे त वधीक शेप्स गॾाए वॾियूं ड्रॉइंग्स ठाहिणु शुरू कयो। असांखे घर वेठल नाज़रीन बि पंहिंजूं ड्रॉइंग्स girlscan@ascorpentertainment.com ते मोकिले सघनि था।
ही मश्क त ॾाढी ज़बरदस्त आहे। मूंखे उमेद आहे त तव्हां इलस्ट्रेशन जूं बुनियादियूं ट्रिक्स सिखी विया हूंदो। हाणे हली मिलूं था पंहिंजे महिमान सां ऐं उन्हनि तालीम जे लाइ घणो कमु कयो आहे।
My name is Tawseef Lateef. I'm currently working as Director Public-Private Partnership, Government of Sindh School Education Literacy Department. Basically, 18th Amendment has just been done quite recently, and it has been a challenge. In the past, it was the federal government who used to take care of all the major sector, including education and health. But with the 18th Amendment, it is now the provincial domain. And with that, the provinces have really developed certain aspects. Sindh being a very important province in the sense that they have developed a few policies in this regard, and they are at the forefront in implementing a lot of like the new curriculum has been devised and the textbooks are now being developed. So I think there is some challenges, but still I think it's much better that we have autonomy, and the province should have some autonomy in order for them to execute education as per the need of the province. As far as PPP is concerned, I think nowadays it is very much needed, because over the past few years the government initially really had good system, but now with the influx of some interventions which have not been so successful, there have been some problems in the education sector. There has been some problem in the education sector, and now there is a need that the private parties or the private organizations also help in getting the service delivery in education especially, and in health sector both. So I think the PPP is the way forward, very much so, and it is very much needed because the expertise from the private sector is very much needed in the public sector. I'm not saying that the public sector does not have the expertise. The public sector does have the expertise, but it may lack certain aspects, and in that it is viable that the private parties who are more efficient in service delivery becomes the partner and help the government in achieving its goals. Well, for this I need to tell you a little background. That the public-private partnership intervention actually started in Sindh way back with the 2010 policy and act. But in the education sector, when the floods came in 2010, the schools were really devastated, and then US aid helped in and building up these schools. So one of the things was to have a policy which we initiated. It's called the Sindh Education Management Organization Policy, which was notified by the government, and in that we made sure that the parties that we have really good reputable parties come and run those newly built schools. So the impact has been very positive. We are now in the 5th cycle of procurement. The people are very, in the initial days they were a little apprehensive, but now with the success, actually in the first 2 rounds we did some shortlisting because that is needed. But in the 3rd round it was so very well received by the public that they wanted that it has to go to the national level, and we had national competitive bidding, and since then we have been having the national competitive bidding, and people are very much positive. Both the parties that are applying for it as well as the community. The community wants that their children get good education, and these organizations have made a mark in the education sector. May that be Beacon House, may that be TCF, may that be IBS Sakhar, SRSO, HANDS, Charter for Compassion. All these organizations are good and working in the education sector and have the experience. So the rural community is really much wants that their children get into these schools and get the kind of education that is available to anyone who are not working or not studying in the public sector. So the quality is really good. We have certain KPIs, which are key performance indicators, that they have to fulfill in order for them to get the amount that is promised by the government to be given to the private party, but this is under a competitive bidding. And they also have to do a lot of interventions like teacher training, they have to do capacity building, they have to do student assessment, they have to take care of the health and hygiene, they have to look after the school, they have to look out the management, they have to look at the teachers and overall school environment. So these are some of the aspects which are really needed in a good school, and that is exactly what has been provided. So the rural community are in very much support of this reform, and they want this to be successful, and we are in the 5th stage of the procurement, and we want it further to be extended in the next phase to come. over the past few years, the quality of teachers have not been so good. But what we have realized that there is a dire need for good teacher training. A good teaching training, what we mean by that is that the teacher who is well equipped, who knows the pedagogical skills, how to teach, how to take an exam, how to deal with students. And for that, especially in my department, which is the PPP, we have just recently outsourced one of the teachers training institute for pre-service. That what does it mean? It means that any student or candidate who wants to become a teacher as a career and wants to take that as a career can enroll in the school and get the required degrees, which are B.Ed and M.Ed. But for this one, it's only catering for B.Ed. And they would be well equipped, and these teachers would eventually be part of the government once they are trained. And we realized that the teachers need to be trained, and that is why we outsourced it to an organization quite recently under competitive bidding in order for the quality of teachers to be improved. So my take on that is that a teacher training is really important in order for the students to be involved in class, because if the teacher is not well versed of the new technologies, of the knowledge or know-how and how to teach, then the students lose their interest in the class. So in my opinion, it is a very important aspect that the right and trained teacher is the need of the day. Definitely yes, that it would benefit. Student-centered approach would definitely benefit, because the practices of the current system, which are towards rote memorization, are not helping the students to become active citizens of the 21st century. You need to have practical approach, and that can only be delivered when students are engaged and the teachers themselves really know how to teach. And it can only be done when the teachers are well aware of the new practices, and these practices may involve practical teaching methods through play, through drama, through activities of peer learning. So these are some of the things that engages the students to be an active student rather than students who are just learning from the book. And also the textbook itself is now becoming quite redundant with the advent of internet and technologies. The students are learning from various resources, may that be television, may that be internet, may that be media. And I think now the classroom should also be interactive in order for the students to achieve the goals. Then the requirement of the 21st century is that the students should have a well-rounded knowledge of the subject, and that can only be done through various means and medium which is needed. Most definitely yes. The reason being is that the student, these are the basic rights of students: safety, health, security. All of these are really important, and the reform, the EMO reform, as I mentioned earlier, that these are the aspects which we have covered in the KPIs. The key reform is that the party has to ensure the student is safe, the students remains healthy. There's health screening, which was not done in the past. The mental importance is really important, because you see the recent events that happened in Peshawar of the attack on the school. Children were really disturbed. So the mental health is really important, and one of the aspects that we want the teachers as well as the private organizations to cater is the mental health of the students, and for that they encourage regular screening as well, and they also want the parents to be engaged with the students as much as possible. That's why we have ensured that the school management committees are in force, which includes parents and students and the community together. So this enables an environment in which the students feel safe, the girls feel safe to go, and especially the kind of schools. If you look at our schools which we have made with the assistance of USAID, these schools are state of the art. They have proper washrooms, they've got proper labs, they've got disability access, they've got a health room, they've got a health screening room. And even they've got a room where there are for the students to come and talk to counselors. So you see, these are some of the things that we realize it's very much important, and most importantly, a healthy environment overall. The ceilings are high, it's airy, so it's not congested, and students also sit at a safe distance from one another. So it's not crowded at 3 or 4 students sitting at a bench. Each student has got their own seat, so the physical distance is also there. And we also ensure that the girls and the boys sections are different at a different level. So all of these aspects are being encouraged by both the parents and the private sector and the government. So I think with all these interventions, I think the students really are doing very well and they are really happy in these schools. But unfortunately, the margin of these schools are quite less. This is only a percentage of the entire school spectrum that the government has. But the government is trying to improve. The government has got its own certain schemes in which they are rehabilitating certain around 4,000 schools, which are high priority, high enrollment schools, and they are upgrading them to a similar kind of a structure in which the students really feel good in going and attending these schools, which attract them in all the aspects of a school as much as possible. Everyone who does not understand the true nature of anything is fearful of that phenomena. Similar aspect comes for PPPs. People are not fully aware of what PPP entails. It does not mean that the private party is entirely responsible for the whole partnership or the whole aspects of the management. It is a partnership in which both are equal partners. The challenge is that the people within the government or outside does not have that much understanding of PPPs, as the PPP, although it's not a new phenomenon, it has been there for ages, but quite recently it has just revived in a manner that PPP is the preferred mode of execution of projects. What are the issues? As highlighted, that people who does not have the true understanding, because people think that it is privatization. It is not privatization. If you look at the Act, there are certain elements of PPPs. There's build, operate, transfer, and other modes, so on and so forth. Our model is based on concession agreement, which is based on that is basically that the party is there to help in order to achieve the targets of the government. So it's a management contract, and we give the management of the schools for 10 years in order for them to implement certain KPIs. As I mentioned, that the policies that are made looking at certain aspects, that what is the need of the time. but the lack of understanding of these policies at the ground level creates some problem. I'm not saying that they all are against it. What I'm saying is that the understanding is the key over here. Certain aspects of the policy was, for them even, was new, and they initially thought that it is like kind of a privatization, which I mentioned, but it has been reiterated to them in various meetings and in stakeholders meeting that this is not privatization, this is for the betterment. So the district officers initially had some issues of implementing, but still we face them time to time. The teacher transfer is a big issue, although there is a ban of teacher transfer. So that is a big concern for us. Then the other aspect is that the district officers do not understand the whole contract, the length of the contract, the terms of the contract, because they haven't looked at the contracts in that manner. We have tried to teach them, we have tried to tell them that this is not privatization, rather this is a support even for them. And quite recently, in the same regard, we had several meetings with the district officers in which we have asked them that they can also tell us because they are at the ground level to see, and the schools remain with the government. The school, they are the custodian of these schools, so they should go and see and identify if there is anything not done according to the contract parameters. So I think that is some of the understanding issues that the district officers face. But otherwise, I think now with 6 years down the line, it has improved tremendously, and I have seen that a lot of the officers are now tilting towards and promoting the same thing as what we want to do at the highest level, is to promote PPPs for the betterment of the students in order to achieve the realistic goals which are set by the government. By Veer Baiji Supariwala Parsi High School. Shujat, yes. Well, I'm really forgetting the names, but I think my principal name, she was not our teacher, but Mrs. Mistry, who was a great educationist. So, Mrs. Mistry. Maths, backbencher. Well, you can say sports a little bit. Maths to hi nahi sakta. Oh, you would be surprised. People would say pilot, people would say this. I wanted to become a paleontologist. What is paleontology? It is the study of dinosaurs, dead dinosaurs actually, Jurassic Park. So I wanted to become a paleontologist. That's why I took anthropology. Yes, maths. Yes, definitely. At that time we wanted to get out of school, but now I would love to be back in school, because I think that is the time of learning, and that is the time of great friends and everything. So I would love to be back in school. No worries. Probably not getting up so early, so I think the timing should be from 10 to 1. I think shorter timing would be good, because we used to be up and school at around 8 o'clock, so it was 7:30 reaching there, so it was a hell lot of a problem. But I think a shorter time would have, and I would change that. And actually that is a new practice actually. Finland and everywhere, they don't have homework, they have less time for school durations, and that is doing a good aspect on the health of the students.
मेठड़ी छांव जी कविताउनि में नंढड़ी नदी तूं ऐं मां ऐं पखी रहन जंहिं देस में तूं हल।
मूंखे पंहिंजी ज़िंदगी में को हीरो न मिलियो, इन करे मां पाण ई हीरो बणिजी वियमि। ही चवणी आहे मुनीबा मज़ारी जी। असां सभिनी जे अंदरि हिकु हीरो ज़रूरु हूंदो आहे, इहा ॻाल्हि तव्हां यादि रखिजो। तव्हां पंहिंजा हीरो छो आहे? छा ही का हमदर्दी आहे, या पोइ बहादुरी, या पोइ अञा ई वरी ॿी ॻाल्हि? मूंखे तव्हांजी हीरो कहाणियुनि जो इंतज़ारु रहिजो, लिखिजो ज़रूरु। वरी मिलंदासीं।